because I'm doing things that are scary and terrifying. But what's the worst that can happen? The worst would have been I stayed in my old life and I would have lasted 2 more years and then I would have stopped working and I wouldn't have earned any more money. I want to be doing this stuff in my 70s.
Welcome to Rule Breaker, Style Maker, a podcast breaking down the so-called fashion rules that we hold and that hold us back in our life and our style. Through conversations with industry guests and the Australian Style Institute team, we explore how breaking a rule can change your life. I'm your host, Lauren D. Bartolo. Let's get into today's episode. We would like to begin by acknowledging the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, the traditional owners and custodians of the land on which we record today, and pay our respects to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander elders, past, present and emerging. Today's episode features an exciting conversation with Courtney Blood, where we explore themes of growth and success in business, ageism, in particular when it comes to fashion, and how to navigate public opinion. Courtney is a personal stylist who founded her business Monday Project Co. 3 years ago. And after having a 30-year corporate career, she probably wouldn't have told you that an average day would look like content creation, a new follower being Sharon Stone, and having 250,000 social media followers across the world engaged with her content, sharing how they find it empowering and inspiring to help overcome the overwhelm that many of us face when it comes to dressing ourselves each morning. Whether you're a fashion lover, an entrepreneur, or someone with a goal that doesn't want to be stuck in your comfort zone any longer, I know you're going to take inspiring insights from today's conversation. Let's get into it. Courtney, you mentioned that every day in your life something crazy is going on or happens.
Yep.
Tell us a bit about that.
So my life now compared to my life pre-styling is, well, there's highs and lows every day, and I am permanently on the edge of my comfort zone. Like every day I am trying to do something new that I've never done, that I didn't have in corporate. I didn't have that. You're going to push yourself in this direction, you're going to try something new, you're going to take a phone call from a brand, or you're going to have someone on Instagram reach out to you, or an opportunity is going to come your way. None of that stuff happened. So, you know, as much as my week is planned, there is something crazy every day that happens for me that I never expected or anticipated, that, you know, my life didn't, as I said, look like this 3 years ago. So yesterday I spent the morning with the head designer for a major brand, talking to her about my demographic and what my demographic are looking for. And, you know, I reached out to that brand because I felt my demographic was being overlooked. So I was like, oh, we'll do something about it, reach out, have a chat to them. So, you know, crazy stuff like that, or a client walking in the door that I don't know what they're going to look like, I don't know what their needs are going to be, and I have to come up with a solution for them. So that's just I don't know what's next. Most days.
Hollywood star that we've watched on in cinema for how many years?
Yeah, well, that's it, a Hollywood star that follows me, and one day popped up and I was like, what on earth? And
we can name drop this one, surely.
Am I allowed to? But she might stop following me.
I doubt it.
So the day Sharon Stone popped up and I was like, she's got the blue tick. Oh, my God, it's the Sharon Stone. And I remember I said to you, what do I do? You said, respond. So I ended up, I go, great red suit. Because it was a really good red suit. So that's what I mean. My life is just so different for a 54-year-old, I've got to say.
So can you take us back to what it looked like before you started this? You had a successful career in a different world as well.
Yeah. So I worked in human resources, or people and culture, which is the more kind of current term for it. So I did that my whole life, and I, you know, worked my way up to executive positions. Because I worked really hard, and I worked in what we call FMCG a lot, fast-moving consumable goods, so alcohol and those types of companies. And then I went into executive search as a headhunter for 6 years, and I did it, I was good at it, and I didn't love it. And that's a real dilemma. When you are good at something, you are really well paid, and you're not loving it, to not keep doing that. So I was doing that for 6 years, and then I left that role, and then I had a break. And I got bored. And I say to everyone, you cannot have an epiphany when you are busy. You actually need to have some downtime, which is a complete luxury. And for a lot of people, economically, they can't take the time out. I took 3 months out. I got bored out of my brain, and I was cleaning out cupboards down at a holiday house, and I felt really good about cleaning out cupboards. This is where my business came from. Okay, so Sharon Stone here, me cleaning out cupboards, and I got to the end of it, and I thought, gee, that felt good. I know what I've got. I know where everything is, and I thought, I wonder if other people feel the way I feel about knowing everything that I have in my wardrobe now and having tidy cupboards. I thought, I wonder if that's a business, and that was it. So I rang a friend and said, in advertising and marketing, I said, I think I've got a business idea. What do you think? And her husband came up with the brand name, which was the idea was Monday Project Co. It's the stuff you put off. I'll do that on a Monday. I'll do that on a Sunday. I'm like the person who comes and does it with you. And that was where the business started. So there was no great moment of, I want to grow on Instagram. I want to be a stylist. I want to come and do podcasts. None of that. It was just I feel good when my cupboards are clean. Other people might feel good when their cupboards are clean. And then that was the catalyst for the business. So I think waiting to have all the solutions, you will never get started.
Yeah.
Perfection, you will never get started. Enough of, I don't like, Mel Robbins, So Mel talks about the discomfort of where you are versus the discomfort of where you want to go to. It has to be greater where you are versus where you want to go. And the discomfort of staying in corporate was, I don't want to do this for another minute. And this is going to be really hard and challenging, and I'm going to not earn any money for a while, but that's what I want to do. So that's kind of how the business came to be.
You mentioned that you wondered whether other people would also find the same kind of interest or appreciate the feeling that you did after you went through your wardrobe. We saw Marie Kondo take over the world with such a simple strategy of does it spark joy. Where was that in the process of this? Had she come out with... Had we already had the Marie Kondo era at this point?
And I hadn't really paid much attention to it. Yeah. My mother's name is Marie, and my mother is like Marie Kondo.
Yes.
So we call my mum Marie Kondo.
Okay.
It sort of had, but it was just that one was about having tidy cupboards, but it was knowing what you had and clarity. And, when I was a busy exec, I never had clarity. My wardrobe always felt out of control. Mm-hmm. I'd go in and I'd just buy a pair of pants. And one winter, I wore the same pair of pants nearly every day. People will not believe that if they follow me on socials. She wore the same pants. I wore the same pair of pants every day through winter because I was so busy, I was so overwhelmed that I just put on a different top and the same pair of pants every day. So I thought there are women like me that are in that crazy busy corporate world. They haven't got time to think about how to style themselves stylishly. They're sitting on too many clothes that don't fit them, don't suit them anymore. Mm-hmm. And if I can just cut through the clutter and just help them come up with some really basic outfit formulas that can mean they can get dressed in the morning, not wear the same pair of black pants every day and feel confident, that's got to be a business. So that was just thinking about what did I need when I was in that space. I needed someone like me, and then who could then help you fill the gaps. And that was, as I said, it was solving a problem that I had felt myself.
Now that you have a direct line of communication with women that are experiencing that themselves, what do they tell you is their biggest frustrations and overwhelm?
Oh, God, there's so many things that get in women's way. Confidence is the number one thing. Confidence and time. But my clientele is very different. So I have 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. They follow me and they are my clientele. So I skew really, really wide. So they're all coming at it from different. So if they are my 50-year-old in the throes of an executive, it's just make my life simple for me. Mm-hmm. Just deal with the clutter. Like I have a client who, when she's out of control, I go and prep her week's worth of wardrobes. I'm like a little fairy who turns up on a Sunday night and gets her ready for a week because she just cannot deal with the workload and everything else. So and she says, you've just saved my week. Whereas I'll have another client who's in their 70s who has lost their confidence and doesn't resonate with any of the brands anymore. They don't want to own a lot anymore, but what they own, they want to feel good in. They want to feel confident. They don't know what colours to wear, what styles to wear. They read, should I be wearing wide leg jeans? Should I be wearing leopard? Should I be wearing... And they don't know, and they just need someone to guide them through well, you don't have to do anything to start with, but what's going to work for you. So, yeah, it's a real mixed bag. That's what I mean. Everyone comes to me with needs a different solution. I don't just take them shopping in shopping centres. It's lots and lots of different things that they need from me.
Given that the content that you're putting out there on socials is, I mean, it's not directed at one of those sort of decades.
No.
What's the common thread that you're noticing across that wide age range?
What are they all looking for? Well, they love education, first and foremost. They want to be educated. So that is the number one thing. They resonate with education.
Do you think that's the antithesis of the overwhelm that we're experiencing at the moment?
They want simplicity.
Yep.
They want education. I never tell them what they have to do. You'll never hear me say, you must go and buy this, because you don't have to do anything. So I'll never come on and go, oh my God, the colour of the season. I might say, look, here's something interesting to know about. We're going to see lots of suede. So if you've got suede in your wardrobe, pull it out. We're seeing charms. If you've got charms in your wardrobe, pull them out. So recognising they've probably got a wardrobe full of stuff. Go and get the stuff that you might have worn 20 years ago and see if it's still going to be relevant and whether it's going to work for you. So, yeah, there's never a must-have, you need to do anything. It's like, here's a suggestion, here's an idea. It's lots and lots of education is what I do. And I just try and keep it real. Like, you know, did you follow that 4-month challenge that I did? Trying to be like my mum.
Tell us about that.
That's become a 9-month challenge. Oh, it's hysterical. So I looked at my mother and I thought, what are the things that she does? Because people love mum. 82, runs 10Ks every day, fit as a fiddle, is incredible. So I thought, what are the things my mother is doing that I could learn from and I could do myself? And so I cut out alcohol. She hardly drinks, but I completely cut alcohol. I got rid of all my expensive moisturisers and I use a $5 tub of Nivea twice a day. I cook as many meals at home as possible and I exercise. I was already exercising, but I exercise consistently every day. And I thought, I wonder what will happen to me as a result. And that's what people, I think, resonated with me, standing there with a $5 jar of moisturiser going, this works. You know, cutting out alcohol, it works. Like, this stuff I do, it works, and it's not expensive and it's nothing I ever say is out of reach. I talk about pre-loved clothes, buying secondhand, dyeing your own clothes. I'm like an 80s throwback. You know what I mean? I'm like what you saw in the 80s when everyone dyed their own clothes. Like, I'm the 80s incarnated in 2025. I know.
And you've given it a very appealing rebrand.
Yeah. I'm a rebrand of the 80s. I always say that. So I'm like I'm just a younger version of my mother. So that's the stuff that I do. And I think it just makes sense to people. And I don't come on and go, aren't I gorgeous? Because I don't think I'm gorgeous. I think, you know, I've taken care of my skin, I exercise, I put hot rollers in my hair. See, I'm an 80s throwback. I put hot rollers in my hair every day. I don't think I do anything particularly special, but I kind of just put it all in a package, and I think people resonate with that. Here's the package. I'm not the skinniest, I'm not the prettiest, I'm not the tallest, but I've kind of packaged up what I've got, and this is the package that I work with, and you're a package too, and if you try some of what I'm suggesting, it might help improve how you feel about your package. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, so beautifully articulated. A couple of things have come up for me in that I really want to explore with you. One is that you say that so confidently. This is who I am, this is who I'm not. Has there been any part of this process of becoming a brand and also doing the hours and really earning your stripes in this space? I guess a better question is, was there a correlation between you becoming self-assured and knowing your craft? Or did you make that decision about who you are before you even began this business and styling?
Well, you know, there is a degree of fake it till you make it. So you have to back yourself. No one is going to be, if you think that you're going to have a bunch of, you know, I always say you need a couple of cheerleaders in your corner. Mm-hmm. So I have, you know, a couple of cheerleaders, but and they're great. So there was 2 girlfriends that I used to meet every Wednesday morning. I still do. I should be there right now, for 45 minutes, and it's fast and furious, and one's in corporate, one's got her own business, and there's me, and we just go bang, 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 bang. What are you up to? What are you doing? How are you? Good. Achdo. And that's it. It's just fun, and I've got you back, and I'm there for you. But it was just because I don't have my corporate people anymore. I don't have my community. So I had that little community, so they backed me, and my family backed me. But other than that, if you're waiting for someone, my husband always says, if you're waiting for me to pump up your tyres, it's not going to happen. You know, he loves me and adores me, but he's not going, whoa, you're amazing. And I think if you wait for the you're amazing, you got to kind of do this stuff. It's got to be internally driven. Like, you've got to feel it yourself, and there is a degree of fake it till you make it. And I am like cat on a curtain some days. I'm like hanging on so tight because I'm doing things that are scary and terrifying. But what's the worst that can happen? You know, like, honestly.
Yeah.
The worst would have been I stayed in my old life, and I would have lasted 2 more years, and then I would have stopped working and I wouldn't have earned any more money. I want to be doing this stuff in my 70s. Like, I want to not use my superannuation.
Yep.
I want to have the ability to turn on income on and off as much as I want, and I couldn't do that if I'd stayed in corporate.
And all of that is possible because of a decision that you made.
Yeah.
You
cleaning
said,
out cupboards.
Cleaning out cupboards and how good that felt. You said something really key, which is we've got to stop waiting for someone, whether that's the knight in shining armour to, sweep us off our feet. You know, we can romanticise, I think, being rescued in a whole lot of ways, partly thanks to Disney, if we go back, in decades past. And I see that translate through to people in their style where they're waiting for permission to be able to become who they want to be or to allow themselves to have a rebrand and communicate something different through their clothes, essentially. The kinds of clients that you work with, what do you notice as far as, are they asking for permission, or are they already at that point that they've decided they're ready for change and you're the conduit just to make that happen?
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
They're ready.
Okay.
They're 100% ready. So they're, the discomfort of where they are is, the old Mel Robbins, the discomfort of where they are is more painful than the discomfort of where they're going. So they are frustrated and fed up. And so they come to me looking for a solution. But, they've done all the work. Like, they are totally 100% ready for me.
I have a theory on that as someone who has seen and developed the skills and careers of countless stylists around the world, and that's that you're already being the permission that they need, that by the time they've come to you, they're not needing to ask, they're following your lead. And you did that first with your career and how you turn up onto socials, and the fact that you're learning as you go, you're still going.
Yeah, and I'm quite open about the fact that, I've put up a couple of reels in the last couple of days of before and afters of me. Me wearing black, me probably a little bit heavier, where I am today, me wearing a dress, me wearing that same dress now after I did what I called the granny challenge, which was, the looking after myself better. So I'm quite okay about going, that's where I was and that's where I am today, but there's still work to be done. But if I stop where I am today, that's still okay. Like, I don't have to be perfect. If this is it, then that's fine. If I feel more confident and comfortable in myself now, that's fine, So, I am quite open about, that there is no perfection. And what I've done on my website, and this was interesting, because I know there are different philosophies about whether you put your pricing out or not. My pricing is all 100% transparent because my theory is my clients are coming to me because they are confused and overwhelmed, and I have to make it easy for them so they can see what I offer. If they want to benchmark me in the market, they can, but I don't want to make it, I don't want another hoop to get through to get to me. There I am. If you want to use me, please do, but if you don't, you know what I mean? Just
from a marketing
make it easy
approach,
for them.
I would say that does make sense, though, because if they're not willing to spend on your services, they can access you for free to an extent on social media, and that will be, they might be your best followers, even if they're not the ones that end up being in that percentage that do become your best clients.
And, you have to have different ways for them to get in touch with you. So I really need to get back to my workshops, because that is that, come along, try a workshop. Follow me on socials, see what you think. Come to my workshop, see what you think. Can you afford it? have you got the time for it? Then do you want to work with me? But finding different ways to try before you buy. And I spoke to this woman who had had a really successful career. So there are 3 things about my business. I should have explained how I built my business. Passion, network, curiosity. That's it.
Tell me about that.
So, there was nothing else. Passion, network, curiosity. So I have a great network because I worked in corporate for 30 years. So I can lean into my network when I need help. I'm deeply curious, so learn all the time, constantly learning. And I'm super passionate. I never said I was the best stylist in the world. I never said that I am incredible at what I do. I think I'm really good at what I do. My clients love my work. But it was about, but I'm passionate. Like I will, I'll be up till midnight trying to find the right pair of shoes for a client online if I think that's what I need to do. So that was it. It was not about, being the very best in the world or the coolest or whatever. It was being super passionate, super curious and super networked. Like you can't work in corporate for 30 years and not have a good network. And people would always say to me, I love the way you look, even though I wore the black pants every day, for winter. And I used to joke, I'd say, one of the reasons I come to work is to wear my outfits. So, I always loved the process of getting dressed. And, I'm deeply curious, so learn all the time. What if I tried? How about this? Why don't I give that a go? Which you have to be. To learn a new craft, you have to be deeply curious and incredibly passionate. And I've been incredibly passionate since I was a teeny tiny kid. People used to call me a chatterbox, which I hated. But, you like to talk a lot because I'm really passionate about whatever I do. And I think that's probably why I was good at my job, even though I didn't love my job. I was good at it because I was passionate about it. So I just took those 3 things and said, okay, well, let's see if they can help me build a business.
I know when people are listening to this, they say, okay, I feel a sense of passion.
Yeah.
I feel that I want to be doing something outside of my current comfort zone. I want to be able to break my own rules to be able to step into that.
Yeah.
Can you tell us how you did that?
You're going to work really hard.
Yeah.
There is no shortcut for hard work. I have frozen shoulder in my left shoulder from social media, from responding to Instagram messages. Like, this is crazy stuff. Can you believe I have a workplace acquired injury from social media? I literally do. I fell over this morning running, so now I have a really sore wrist and I have a really bad shoulder. You work hard. It is what it is. There's no shortcuts to hard work. So every single day I get up and I make content. Christmas Day, New Year's Day, Boxing Day, my birthday, I make content. Like, I don't have a day off. It's just that simple. You can't kind of, when I feel like it, turn it on and turn it off. If you want to grow socials and you want to grow a following, you've got to be there every day for them because they're looking for consistency. So that's an easy one. So yeah, you're going to work really, really hard to do this. It's not a when I'm in the mood kind of stuff. So that's, I think, passion as well. And I think also really knowing your customer, knowing who I work with and understanding them. So like my passion for what I do, but my passion for them. So, as I said to you, talking to brands and saying, do better for older women. So I'm doing something with a brand soon. I'm hosting like a VIP afternoon, which will be fabulous. And I said to them, but the models are going to be in their 50s, okay? And they said, sure thing. Great. I've went to other brands when I was first starting as socials and I was knocking on doors with Mum and I. She wasn't with me, obviously, but knocking on brands' doors going, I get views on my content. Why won't you tag me? Why won't you show me? And they never responded and I would be so frustrated. I'm like, I actually did a talk on this a while ago and I said, give me some brands. And they all threw brands up and I said, who are the brands that you shop at? And it was at an audience with probably about 40 women. And they threw up all the brands and then I got on their grids and I showed the socials and I go, where are you on there? Where is your cohort? And they're like, they're not there. And I was so mad about that. And I'm like, no wonder you feel ignored. No wonder you feel you go into a store and you can't see yourself. You look on socials and you're not there. So that passion around, well, stuff it. I'm just going to do it for myself. So now, brands reach out to me and they want me and they want my mum because they can see they get 30 years coverage of a product when Mum and I are both there together. So do you know what I mean? Like that passion, that fire in my belly of I'm so mad about what I'm seeing happening to women in my cohort and my mothers, and it really frustrates the shit out of me. But tide is turning. It is getting better. But, 2 years ago, if I'd said to a brand, well, you've got to show, an 82-year-old, they would have said no. But it is moving. So, yeah, does that sort of help around the passion to work your ass off? You don't take days off. I'm sorry, that's how it works. You can't start a business. You ask any small business owner how much time you take off. They'll tell you very rarely. And also, as I said, finding my cohort and finding how marginalised my cohort were and then fighting for them really hard. So it becomes more than a business. Do you know what I mean? Like it's now like it's a fight for women my age to be seen and recognised.
What do they tell you when they land in your DMs or in your comment section? What are you hearing?
They feel seen.
Yeah.
That's it. They just feel seen.
What do you think that's doing for women more broadly or for people that do feel seen for the first time?
Well, I think what I hope is it gives them confidence to know there's Mum, there's me, and we're in their corner, we're backing them, even if it's a $5 jar of Nivea, even if it's walk around the block when you haven't been exercising much. Like, just, you know, we're kind of, we're doing this together. And I think that's why people love my 4-month granny challenge, because I was like, dip into whatever you feel you can do of this, or you might already be doing this. You know what I mean? That's being seen. And that's why I often say, go back into your jewellery box and pull out your old charm bracelet. It's still cool. It's still relevant. You're not out of touch. You haven't lost, you know what I mean? You're still important in this society. So pull out. And I had a client the other day turn up with this magnificent charm bracelet. And I was like, oh, my God. She goes, it was my mother's. She was a flight attendant and you said charm bracelets and I'm wearing my mum's bracelet. I'm like, you know, yay, go girl. I love that. And I hope she got to say to her mum, I'm wearing your bracelet because, Mum, it's cool. So, yeah, like that's what I like, being able to sort of say, yeah, as I said, you're seen, you're not irrelevant, you've got a place in society, you know, you're important. You're just as important as anybody else. And I think that's what people recognise, even if it's, as I said, me standing there with a face full of Nivea, because they use Nivea. And they say, oh, my God, I use Nivea. Oh, my God, my 82-year-old mother used Nivea. Oh, my nanny used Nivea. Like, yeah, okay, let's all use Nivea. The demographic with the biggest, highest disposable income and savings are people in their over 50s. So why ignore them? It just makes absolutely no sense. When you are trying to separate yourself from the pack, when your sales are struggling, and yet you look at older women and you either ignore them or you take them for granted. And that is what is happening. They're either not seen as valuable enough, or there's a fear that showing an older woman will alienate your younger consumers. So, yeah, it frustrates the hell out of me. I think it's definitely getting better, and I think we're definitely seeing the high top-end brands recognising 2 generations shopping in a store. Prada, it makes so much sense. You get 2 generations shopping together, double the spend, makes, you know, perfect sense. Yeah. Putting older women on the runway. But not in a tokenistic way. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't want to see a runway for older women. Put the older women in the normal runway. Yeah. You know, that irks me, because they're just as beautiful, they're just as relevant. So why separate them out? Mm. So, you know, we've come so far, you know, a long way in inclusivity, but I think age is still, it's still more needs to be done. But as I said, to me, if I was running a brand and I wanted to make money, I know where I'd be making money. They're smart, they need to shop, they want to look good. They're into current trends. Yep. You know, they want to look great, they want to feel confident. And, you know, 60's the new 40, 70's the new 50, 80's the new 60. Yep. Women are living longer and ageing better than they've ever aged before. So I think brands often have funny stereotypes about what 70 or 80 or 60 actually looks like versus the reality of what these women actually do look like.
Yeah. So we're in a time at the moment where we've seen a shift from people glamorising luxury and designer apparel and accessories into this much different theme now, where people are looking for relatability that's still, I think,
a little bit of a stretch.
Yeah. Part attainable and part aspirational. Yeah. And you seem to sort of manoeuvre your way through that line or find that space really naturally. Yeah. Where there is a level of polish and also a level of reality, I think, as well. How much would you put on a tin of Nivea to be able to be that breakthrough, because a $5 product is attainable for most.
100%.
Yeah.
And we all need somewhere to start.
So was that strategy?
No.
No. And yet it's become...
not.
When do you think we're going to see a Nivea campaign come through? That's the one I want to see for you and your mum.
Too funny. No, like it was just... So this is the joy of never having done something before, not knowing Instagram, not knowing TikTok, not knowing anything, is that you have no preconceived ideas. It's really good to have no idea, because you just do what feels good for you and you're not following other people's trends or leads. You're just going, this makes sense to me, and if it makes sense to me, it might make sense to you. That's all it is. Like, it's not, there's nothing particularly strategic about it. It was, I see her do it, she looks great, maybe if I do it, I might feel better. And as I said, but finding a way, an entry point for people that is attainable. So going on and saying a $300 moisturiser, cost of living, that is not attainable. But if a jar of Nivea makes you feel a little bit of love for yourself, and that's what I talk about, this is self-love. If it's saying no to a drink when you're trying to give up alcohol or cut back, and that feels like self-love, it's not beating yourself up, it's loving yourself. So it's all a jar of Nivea, organising your clothes in your wardrobe, it's all a little bit of love.
Yeah.
And it's not about discipline and hard work. It's, as I said, flipping it to love.
Yeah. There is discipline and hard work in starting your own business, which you had mentioned. Committing to that discipline is an act of self-love, I believe, where we're not letting ourselves down if we've made the decision to go after what we want. That can be easier said than done. Yeah. The human brain is wired to find a loophole at times to, I am a little tired, so maybe I don't have to do that. My shoulder's playing up. Maybe I can give myself a rest, or the conversation with a friend who you may love dearly, but who's on a different journey at that moment in time. And so naturally their story is going to be different. Maybe they are in their season like you had at one point of taking the break. Yeah. How are you navigating your way through the commitment to building what you're building and the discipline of showing up every day, despite the human elements of other people's input and your own?
I just do it. I literally
good.
I just do it. Okay, so I'm a marathon runner.
Okay.
So I've run 11 full marathons. My mum's run 30 marathons. Run a marathon, because a marathon is a mindset game. It is not a physical thing. So if you can run a marathon and you can put your body through that again and again, it does help, because you kind of go, I know that I'm tough mentally, and I've worked in really tough, challenging situations in corporate, like really hard situations. So if your benchmark is, I know physically how hard I can push myself, I've worked in really challenging work situations, I know how hard my brain can work. It's kind of like, well, I know I can do this. And it's my choice at the end of the day. So I think having some perspective of what it actually looks like, and that's the joy of being 54. So is that you've got all of these years of experience of, this might seem tough, but you've done tougher. You might seem tired, but you've been more tired. You've raised 2 kids, you've had a career. So whatever I do, it's never been as bad as what I've done in the past. So there is a richness and a joy in ageing. And this is what I always say to corporates, that you look at women in their 50s and you look at them as they're done. They're actually just getting going, because they've done the kid raising, they've done the juggle, they want to work, a lot of them, some of them don't, but they want to work. They're at their best. Like, now's the time to get them and get them working, because their reasoning for working is quite different to the reasoning they might have had when they were 25. They want to give, they want to grow, it's that sort of stuff. Yeah. So I just think, I've had it harder. This is hard some days, but it's my choosing, my choice.
You've just given me your playbook of what you choose to believe when things are hard. And I think even in the simplicity of a few beliefs can be the difference at whether we stick to something or we don't. Yeah. I remember a mentor of mine saying years ago that a simple thing she started telling herself was, when my back's up against the wall, that's when I find out what I'm really capable of, which is more than I've even seen yet. Yeah. So give it to me. Yeah. Because she gets to figure out who she is in that process. And that in itself just seemed quite, at the time, simple, and then I realised the power of it when I was faced with just a couple of compounding situations that I thought, okay, one's out of my comfort zone, the other one's out of my comfort zone, and then add to that other people's opinion, or maybe it was feedback. There were those few things that I thought, okay, this might be too much.
Yeah.
And that was when I could rely on that, oh, hang on, I think this is what back up against the wall actually feels like.
It's like having a benchmark. And the more you know, like your benchmark looks like here for discomfort, and you push yourself a little bit higher and you go, oh, that's my benchmark. And I push myself here and the gap gets bigger, and I push myself and I push myself and I push myself. So my status quo of what I was comfortable with is now down here. Yeah. And I'm happy around up here. Mm-hmm. But, you know, what can pull you down, what can get you back, is caring about what other people think of you. Like, don't care. You know, other than I care what my husband thinks, I care what my mum, I care what my sister thinks, and a handful of friends. But on the whole, if I was waiting for other people's permission and I was caring, I would never do anything. I'd never get out of bed and do this business. So if you care and you rely upon other people's feedback, you're dead in the water, because you are only as good as the worst piece of feedback you get. Yeah. So I'm just like, oh, whatever, just... You know, as I said, it's the joy of age. It's, you know, when you look on Instagram and those women in their 50s going, I don't give a shit. We don't give a shit. Like, we're done. We just want to grow and learn and contribute and show women that they're seen on social media. Like, it's so simple. Like, it's great to be 50. Yeah. And we'll see that increasingly to 60, 70 100%. And beyond. Look at my mum at 82 living her best life. So she is living her best life, and my goodness, she's an elegant, gorgeous woman. With social media growth also is going to be a wider audience, and with that comes the lovers and the haters. Yep. Everyone thinks they're entitled to an opinion, and I guess we are. What we do with that, of course, is up to us. I was really surprised to hear that people had just... Actually, I wasn't. On the heart of humans, I think we can't help but to project where we're at. Yeah. And... for so many, social media is an escape where it can bring out the best and the very worst. But I was surprised because your mum is just so elegant and she communicates so little that you couldn't love. I know, she's the kindest woman. Yeah, so she's kind. How are you navigating social media comments and feedback? I know that there's a protective part of you that stands up for your mum. Tell us a bit more about... I'm feral. When people go, my mother, I'm awful. I don't say anything. I just block them and delete. Yeah. So, okay, here's the thing about social media, that you have to find your tribe, and you have to find just a few people in that tribe, just enough. So I had this girl, and let's call her Matilda Henry, and she lived in country New South Wales, say, for example. Mm-hmm. And she would comment on my posts, and she would say nice comments. And when I was making content, I would think of her, because she would always comment and say nice things. Now, I don't know where she is now, and I need to probably offer a freestyling session, because she got me through when I lacked my own confidence. But having just a handful of people, because there will be people that are haters, but there are more people that love what you do. When they say things, and there's 3 platforms they're going to get that all have a different vibe. Mm-hmm. Instagram is great. Facebook, they can be awful to you, and TikTok are just having a party. So on TikTok, it's all fun and whatever, like we're just all having a great time over here. Facebook, if they want to pull you apart, they'll pull you apart on Facebook, and Instagram's pretty good. So you kind of know what you're going to be getting on each from. And Facebook, I only do it because brands like to be able to use Facebook for cross promotions on platforms. Mm-hmm. Like I saw Sally from Styled by Sally the other day say she won't use Facebook because of the haters on Facebook. So, you kind of, you know who you're going to get on each audience. The number one thing that they say about my mum is that she's had plastic surgery. She hasn't had a facelift. She hasn't had a neck lift or whatever sort of lift. And that's the only time I get upset, when I'm like, no, she hasn't had plastic surgery. What you see is her. And it's so far from her if you knew her. That's when I get upset, is she's only like that because she's had plastic surgery. I'm like, no, you're looking at 45, 50 years of hard work and discipline, and that's what it looks like. It doesn't look like plastic surgery. And if you want to do plastic surgery, Do whatever works for you.
Yeah.
But that just, that's why she looks like she does. It's like, no, you're missing the point. So that's when I get grumpy. But other than that, I'm like, I don't care. I put myself in this situation. Like, I created this. So, big girl, deal with it. Does that... Which, again, joy of 54. You don't get upset. But the thing I always say when I do content is it is not for your family and friends. The minute you start to put the family friends lens over it, you will lose your nerve. You will back down. Mm-hmm. It is for your Matilda Henrys. It is for your whoever you want to call them. They are your person. But family and friends, you will do kinder drop off. You will do daycare drop off. You will go and play golf with some girlfriends, and someone will say something and you'll pick up on the negativity, and then you'll be nervous and you won't want to do it. So either take yourself out of those situations or just get a thicker skin. So simple.
So simple. Yeah, when you say it like that, I mean, yeah, why are we not all doing this all of the time?
I know.
Yeah, really important distinction though, because you say, well, that's what being in your 50s brings. I get to work with a lot of very, incredibly capable women and empathetic women, and that's something that they're struggling with at the moment, something that they are forgetting or they haven't arrived at yet, which is, at this age, I can do what I want. And I think that's where empathy can be our biggest asset in a way as stylists, because we can have a level of curiosity and care with the clients we're working with. At the end of the day, we're working with their identity, so we should. It can also be to our detriment when empathy then becomes caring too much. So to hear that distinction, I know is going to be really, really valuable to a lot of people listening. I want to touch on styling for another minute. We're in an industry where there are a lot of people that are passion-led, and in the content creation space, there's a lot of people who will either call themselves stylists or, I guess, give themselves a name without having at any point verified that, backed invested in their skills to be able to add value. What's your take on that?
Oh, yeah. Well, people sort of doing it but not doing it particularly well, or doing it without the credentials?
Well, yeah, and not credentials. I mean, I come from a biased perspective, obviously, at Australian Style Institute. With that, I value investing in ourselves so that we can then give to other people. I think it's more that we're in an industry, given that it's not regulated, it's so nuanced and it's muddy. And I think there'd be a lot of people, I imagine, even just leveraging off your coattails, that you're saying this is what you do as a stylist, colour consultant, and then they can go and apply that without having, they know bits of it, but they might know 5% and hold on to that enough as a quick win. Yeah. Everything you're telling me you're doing is not the quick wins. It's the daily grind. So what do you think someone needs in order to be able to stand out in this industry if they are pursuing this? And how important is it, do you think, that they have adequate knowledge before they go giving it to other people?
Yeah. Look, it depends who their target demographic is.
Yeah.
So, if they're wanting to work with people who are really trend-driven and they are literally showing them what is trending, that might be one thing. They might be just giving them insight into here's a current trend. So that's fine. If that's what you want to be known for, is trend-driven, and your clientele, or whether you're getting work out of it, is to know the latest and the greatest, that's you're in your lane. Whereas for me, it's not about being the latest and greatest. It's about really understanding what is going to make you feel fabulous and confident, whether it's colour, whether it's style, whether it's dyeing your own clothes, whatever it is. That's what I'm trying to do, is find that person that is looking for, they don't need to be in the most current fashionable, but they want to feel fabulous and they want to make really smart decisions. They don't want to waste their money, and they're not worried whether they're in, as I said, the jeans of the season. So that's kind of my person that I look for, and that's what I'm communicating, and that's my clientele. Yeah. So I will say to them, I have older women who will just say to me, Courtney, do I look current? And I'm like, okay, well, let's make you look a little bit more current. Let's put the right kind of shapes on you. Let's get you out of the skinny legs and jeans, and let's get you out of the daggy runners. Like, let's kind of, zhuzh you up a bit if that's what they want. But I think it depends who's your audience.
Yeah.
And knowing, I think people don't know who their audience is. So they're trying to be something for everybody. They're trying to do older women, younger women, plus size, this, that, and they're kind of trying to be all things to all people and hoping that they can throw enough out there that they'll catch someone. Whereas for me, it's just know who your person is. And if you don't make content, you can't find your person. It's so simple. No content, no followers. There you go. That's it in a nutshell, how to grow on Instagram. Yeah. If you're not making content, your people can't find you. So be consistent, make content, and your people will find you over time.
What shifts have you noticed over time that you're pivoting to very quickly because you're having to or because you're seeing that it's helping you to grow, i.e. 10,000 followers overnight with specific reels? Can you share some of your insights into...
Well, you just don't know. This is the thing. Like, if you don't make content, you don't know. You can spend hours crafting, and anyone in the content world will tell you this. You spend hours and hours crafting something and you think it's beautiful, and then it doesn't pick up. Instagram doesn't love it. My biggest reel, I think it was B-roll footage. I was sitting on a plane. The plane was delayed on the tarmac, and I just strung a whole bunch of B-roll together. I put a soundtrack over the front. I think it had like 8.8 million views in no time. There was nothing particularly strategic. I just thought, I rang my mum because the plane was delayed, and I was sitting on the thing, and I said, Mum, what are your top tips for aging? She goes, oh, bang, bang, bang. I went, all right, there you go, there's 5 tips. Pulled a soundtrack, pulled some footage, bang, out. You know what I mean? Like, it's just when we overthink it, we don't do it. And that's what women or men are telling me all the time is, I overthink it. I don't like my voice on camera. I don't like this, so I don't do it. I'm like, just do it. It doesn't have to be perfect. And if you stop worrying about what everybody thinks about you, then, okay, it wasn't great, but next time it'll be better, and next time it'll be better, and then I'll find people that like what I do.
Yeah.
So you can't do it if you don't do it. Like, it's not going to happen any other way. And if you want to grow... So for me, I had no money to grow my business. I didn't want to spend a cent because I didn't know if this thing was going to work. I didn't want to sink money. I'd spent my money on the course, which was fabulous, but I didn't want to spend another dollar. I didn't want to build a website. What was free? Social media. And so I just started social media. So if it didn't work, I hadn't sunk in too much money, and I could just always make a few phone calls and say, oh, guess what? I'm back. Didn't work out for me.
What's the worst thing that could happen?
What's the worst thing? I'll go back to my old job.
The thing that you know anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you had have been in your other job, you would have never had the opportunity to work with your mum and have experiences like the one that you've had.
Yeah.
Can you share with me what that's given you at this stage in your life?
Well, so Mum and I are doing Spain and Portugal in June together off the back, and I'm paying for her part from her social media earnings, which I think is the funniest thing.
As if you could have predicted that how many years ago. That's incredible.
82-year-old, here's your social media money. Mum will pay for the airfare and a com. So, like, just that's what I mean. Every day's crazy. I would never have guessed that 2 years ago that's what I'm going to be doing with my mum. And, you know, I'm talking to brands now about wanting to do some clothes while we're away and stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, great. But it's the adventure, the journey, the not knowing the twists, the turns, that is all the fun that I would never have had. Yeah. Turning up at an office every day in my ugly black pants with my overwhelmed wardrobe, you know, that never would have happened.
I love that you're taking your mum away with the allowance. It sounds like her social media proceeds. Yeah, I mean, that's just... Oh, my goodness, that's incredible. I know with that, though, you'll be approaching that trip with a different kind of lens than you would have a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Now when you look at that opportunity, how long are you going for?
3 weeks.
Okay. So can you give me an insight into how you approach that through your business lens?
Well, it just depends. We'll film content every day.
Okay.
We'll film...
Does she know that?
Yeah.
Okay.
She doesn't care. She just goes whatever. Do you know the funniest thing? This is the funniest thing about social media. So when I first started, I thought that no one would follow me because I was in my 50s, and I was really reluctant about saying how old I was.
Okay.
Like, I don't know who I thought I was kidding. Anyhow, then I put Mum on socials, and people are like, oh, my God, I love this. And I was... Wow, okay. So it's okay to be old on socials. So, yeah, Mum will just go. So I didn't ever put Mum on camera until 2 years ago. Before that, I was 18 months ago, I think I put mum on camera for the first time, sort of accidentally. So, yeah, we'll be filming. I mean, people are just curious, like, what are we going to take on our holiday?
Mm-hmm.
We want to take not many clothes. So, you know, what are we packing to take? We'll show some stuff like that. Because, again, I'm thinking, who is my person? My person might be planning a holiday and they're a little overwhelmed about what to take. So I'll show them how I'm going to pull together a capsule wardrobe. Things like that. They're going to have to see those same clothes again and again and again because we're not taking many things with us. Well, they'll see bits of our trip. Mum and I'll probably, you know, go do some shopping. Like, there's nothing glamorous, or we don't really eat out much. We're happy to have a picnic in the park and just sit and look at, you know, what's going on around us. You know, we're pretty simple. You know, that you won't see me. You never see me. Occasionally I will go out to a nice restaurant, but you never see me pretending or living a bougie lifestyle. I'm not showing myself in an expensive restaurant, or like, that's not me. That's not my brand. So more often than not, we'll probably be sitting in a picnic in a park having a picnic together for dinner with some cheese or something. You know, like, it's just so simple. So that's what our trip will look like. So you just see bits and pieces of what we do.
And that's the authenticity, the congruency of it. And when your mum says that she does live a healthy life, and it would be counterintuitive all of a sudden that a trip was based around restaurant recommendations rather than her being really firm in, no, this is the decisions I make, this is how I live.
Yeah.
That is,
and
makes sense.
We've got great restaurant recommendations because I've got a global following. So a gorgeous woman in Barcelona then sent me all her favourite restaurants in Spain, and I've got all those earmarked, and hopefully I need to reach out to people in Portugal. I need some advice too. So, you know, I'll use the locals, what locals have told me to do, like, awesome. But, you know, we're there just to see the architecture and do some people watching and do some walking and, just be us. So you'll just see us doing us, really.
In you doing you, you're also attracting a different kind of brand partnership, and I know you'll continue to. I can get a little idea into the next 12 months, I think, of where your brand is going to shift to. And just even looking at the last 2 years of growth, what's possible, I guess, based on that for the time ahead. My question is, brands will come to you and want you to create content or find an authentic partnership. How do you think you'll navigate when it isn't something that speaks to your audience?
Oh, it happens all the time.
Yeah,
I
so
just say no. It
okay.
happens all the time. And this is, you know, like, God, everything I do is new. Like, I'm overwhelmed with newness every day.
Yeah.
So a brand will reach out with something and then they'll talk to me about a new concept that I haven't heard on in terms of an advertising process that they want to use or whatever. I'm like, oh, God, I don't know. You know, like, oh, Jesus, now I've got to figure this one out. In corporate, I'd go and talk to someone. I'd go and talk to the marketing team, or I'd go and grab IT, or I'd go and grab finance. Yeah. I'm it. And so I'm like all the time. So I've been so busy lately that when I've had brands reach out to me with new kind of ideas, I'm like, I don't actually even have the time. Just make it simple for me. Just simplify it. Don't make it tricky, and I can look at it. If it's too complicated or you're trying to get one over me. So I had a brand the other day, I hope they're not listening, that I did the footage and I sent it all back. I sent all the clothes back. I said, I can't do this because what you want me, the way you want to use my content isn't in a way right now that I feel comfortable with. So I packed it all up, deleted the footage and said, I'm sorry, I can't do this. Just, you know, and it could have just been, at the moment I want to own my own content. I want to own my own footage. Now, that might change over time, but I'm still the new kid on the block. So control is really important to me. So when someone wanted to own me, I just said, no can do. As I said, didn't take the money, lost the work, even though I'd filmed it. So, yeah, just still navigating, still figuring this thing out. And it's, it is what it is.
Bold call and critical one, I think, at this point when there's so many new opportunities coming in. When you do find brands that are really aligned, how much of that do you think will be retainer-based ongoing? For example, you're working with them for a year versus short runs, small campaigns that might have to do with seasonal promotions and stuff?
Know.
Okay, that's the strategist in me wants. I can't wait to explore that with you because I think that's just
idea.
okay.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I don't honestly know. Like every single thing I do is new all the time. So that's what I mean. I am constantly pushing myself and trying and learning new things. I grew up without Instagram. I learnt Instagram. I don't know anything about brands or how it all works. So, I just use my network. I use my curiosity to try and learn and navigate this stuff. But, I'm still figuring it out. But, it's got to... it's got to align with, everyone talks about their values, but I've got to actually like the person that runs the brand as well, the person at the top. Like, I have to actually be able to have a conversation and a relationship with them and feel that they're, like we get along.
When you say that, do you mean on a marketing manager level or the person actually appointing you to that, or do you mean the designer or the
Well, it can
CEO
be the person
at the time?
who owns the business.
Yeah.
You want to kind of have some type of connection with them, and you've got to like their clothes.
That's the medium that you're working in.
You've got to like what...
Yeah.
And I think you can tell,
Yeah.
If I wouldn't genuinely wear it, people would know that. They'd sniff out a rat in seconds. And you know that. You see it yourself.
Yeah.
You go, what are you doing? I'd rather not. Like, I'm playing a long game. Okay, it's a long, long game. Remember, I want to be doing this in my 70s. So I'm not looking for quick wins and a quick buck. I'm looking for long-term longevity. So if that means I let a whole bunch of stuff slide while I learn and figure this business out, then that's okay, because I'm still styling and I'm still working flat out in the background. So if I want to push more into social media, I can. But, I want to make smart decisions now. As I said, they're going to pay off in the future and not not make bad decisions now. Mm-hmm. So if that means I say no more than I say yes, so be it.
Yep. That is also appealing for other brands, because hearing you say that out in the market just verifies the fact that if you're putting your name to something, you're really putting it to it.
Yeah.
Which is everything in a world where we're looking for the truth.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to determine on social media. I know we think we know it and we can feel it, but it's not always as obvious. With your insights, if you were giving advice to a brand listening right now, 3 things that you think brands should listen up to based on what you're seeing, what do they need to know?
Okay, women of every age are on social media, 100%. If you think social media is only for 20s and 30-year-olds, you have got it wrong. I am spread across 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. They are all on socials and they are watching what you are doing, and they are nobody's fool. So if on your socials you don't show people who look like them, they are not going to feel like you are there catering for them. So that's the first thing. On your grid, show diversity would be my first thing, but actually really want diversity. Mm-hmm. In store, create an experience where they feel valued. Train the staff to actually, they might look 30, 40 years older than you, but they are relevant and they have something. They are there looking for a solution. So give them some time. I had a woman the other day who came to see me, and she was in her 70s and she caught the train, and it was a big thing. She caught the train to meet me in Sydney, and she was really neon, like bright, bright, bright. And I said, what are you doing? Like, why are you wearing all neons? She goes, because I feel invisible, Courtney. And if I don't look like this, and I was like, okay, you can do brights, but we don't need neons. Let's just pare it back and let's put colours that actually flatter and enhance, not scream at me. But she said, I feel invisible. I walk into stores and they don't look at me. So that would be another thing. If you can somehow get it through to staff, look at who has money, help them, service them.
Yeah.
Show them, care for them.
Yeah.
That's it. It's not hard.
Yeah.
And, if you're going to pivot your brand away from them, just be really careful, because they have memories. So they'll still talk to you about what such and such did in whatever year when the brand turned their back on them, and then the brand goes back and realises, actually, we're seeing it happen at the moment. They're going back going, slight error there. We had a bit of a change in marketing and in brand and, strategy, and now we want you back. It's like, be loyal to them. They'll be loyal to you.
You've given us such an incredible insight into not only why your business is and has to be on your terms, which is so refreshing to hear, but also how it directly has an impact on so many people, women in particular, in a time when we are so hungry for it, but not everyone is willing to throw their hat in the ring and continue to show up. So thank you for being so generous and transparent in giving us a look into what drives you and how to build more resilience in our mindset, and to just keep showing up, sore shoulder and all. It really, I know it's going to benefit a lot of people. So thank you for joining me.
Thank you. It's a privilege. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Rule Breaker, Style Maker. If you'd like to keep up to date with new episodes, podcast news and what we do at ASI, be sure to follow our Instagram at Australian Style Institute. And if you're wanting to follow my own personal style journey and all things human behaviour of style, then you can follow my personal account at Lauren D. Bartolo. And I'll see you in the next episode.